Hello everybody, I'm Teacher Nick here from LTN Education. Learn with Teacher Nick. Education for innovation. Alright, today I'm going to give you a quick introduction into inequalities. We're going to cover the concepts that you're going to be hearing about a lot. So before we get there, I just want to give a little bit of a background, a more practical background so we can understand how the word inequalities is constructed, what does it mean, and then also connect this with equations. I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible. Let's start with a few words here. So let's say you went to the shop to buy some things, maybe a game or whatever, and then you find that you cannot afford the game. How do you describe that? The game is expensive, right? But if it is not expensive, what you say? It is inexpensive. Let's have another one. If I say, give me reasons why you did not submit your work. If I do believe the reasons that you're giving me, or if you have enough evidence, I can say your reasons are valid. But if you say I didn't do the homework because I was sleeping, I would say your reasons are invalid. I want you to notice, what do we keep adding to these words? Let me have another one. If I ask you a question and you give me the right answer, I would say your answer is correct. But if your answer is not correct, what am I going to say? It is incorrect. So far, what have you noticed? What do we keep adding here? Let me just change the color. So in all these words, in fact, I think I prefer black. In all these words, if you notice, we keep adding one and the same thing. I'm going to change this color here to this. So if you're paying attention, you can see that there is this word that we keep adding here. All right. So once we put this prefix in, then it means the opposite. All right. So with equations, if I have an equation like 2x plus 2 is equal to, let's say, 10. This is what we call an equation. And on the left-hand side, I have an expression, an algebraic expression because there is a variable. And on the right-hand side, I also have an expression, a numerical expression. So 10 is a numerical expression. All right. So what does the equal sign tell us? It tells us that there is an equality between these two expressions. It means the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. There is equality. So this symbol tells us there is equality. So if I go there now and add on this, let me add on this one. So if there is equality, what if the left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side? Then we say we have an inequality. I'm sure by now you already know what it means to have an inequality. If we have equality, it means the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So inequality, it means the left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side. And again, as you can see, we also added the same thing, which changed the meaning of the word. We also added this prefix, which is in, now which means the opposite of equality. So equations show us equality. Equations mean the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So this symbol, the equal sign, is a symbol of equality. The left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. Now, the big question that you should be asking yourself now is, how do I represent inequality? And I'm sure you already know the different symbols that we use for inequality. We have 4 of these symbols. Well, I can say 5 because the fifth one, I can say 5. The fifth one is this one. It's an equal sign which has been struck through. This simply means not equal to. So if I want to say 2 is not equal to 4, this is how I write it. 2 is not equal to 4. This is still another form of inequality. This also still says the left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side. But it's not telling us which is bigger and which is smaller. And that is what we're going to be dealing with a lot. which is bigger, which is smaller, which is equal to. All right, so the basic idea that you should have here now is that when we talk about inequalities, we simply mean that the left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side. All right, so I'm going to erase all of what we have here. So first, I'm going to remove this. Thank you. And I'm just going to take everything off here. The reason why I'm not moving the screen, I want everything that is on here to stay on the frame, because if I start shifting the screen, everything else is going to shift to the screen. So I'm just going to leave everything like this. All right. So how do we represent inequality? Well, inequality, like I said, does not have only one sign, like equality, equations. It has 5 symbols. So what are those symbols? Let me change the color there. So we have greater than, and these are not in any particular order. We have greater than, we have less than, we have greater or equal to, we have less than or equal to, and we have not equal to. These are the symbols that we normally use to represent inequality, but most importantly, these ones. This is what we're going to be focusing on. All right, and you need to be able to graph these as well, to show them on the graph, to show off how they look. I'm going to make an example. Let's say there was a test that we were writing. Maybe I need to write that story to ensure that everyone is on the same page. So I'm going to write a story here, which I prepared a story earlier. I'm going to make this smaller. Let's say the students were writing a formative, which was 8 points. So students were writing a formative, which was 8 points. So if you got everything correct, it means you got 8 points. Now, what are the possible scores that students can get? All the possible scores that students can get. It's quite simple. These students, if students were to write this test, if students were to write this formative, they would get, it's either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. These are the all possible scores that they can get. No student can get 9. Or I can put also a 0. So it's either student's going to get 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. But no student is going to get -1 or any of the negative numbers. And no student is going to get 9 and above. All right? So these students can either get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What do we call this set of all possible scores? Or all possible scores that learners can get? We call this a replacement set. So this set of numbers is called a replacement set. I'm just going to make this. So this is a replacement set. These are all possible scores that learners can get. And then let's add a little bit here. Let's say we want to focus on one student now, or the entire class. We say, my class is so good that I know none of the students can get less than 4. So this is what I'm going to write now. None of my students, mark, will be less. Or I can rewrite it and say, all students will get no less than 4. You see, you need to now be able to represent this situation as an inequality. We don't know what each student is getting, but all we know is that no student in this class will get less than 4. So all students will get above 4. So how do you represent that? Now remember the signs or the symbols that we spoke about earlier. We said we have greater than, we have less than, we have greater or equal to, we have less or equal to. Now remember, in these symbols, the opening part is the greater part. Okay, this one is the greater part, and the closed end is the less part. So whichever you put on the left, it's greater according to this symbol here. So the left hand side is greater. The opening means greater, and the closed part means less. All right, so that is very important to remember. But in this case, we are saying no less than 4. So if I'm saying they're not going to get less than 4, then what does that mean? It means they can get 4 and above. So if 4 is also included, which symbol then we're going to use here? You are right. This is greater or equal to. So if I say they're not going to get less than 4, then it means they will get 4 and above. All right? And how do we represent this? Let's say their mark is represented by the letter X. So it means X is what? Is greater or equal to 4. Now, if we go back now to our solution set, we are going to take out all the numbers that do not qualify, that do not make this inequality true. All the numbers that when we put where there's X, they don't make this true, we're going to take them out. All right, so let's test it now. So I'm just going to put a box where there's X, and I'm going to say greater than or equal to 4. So if I put 1 there, is this true? Is 1 greater or equal to 4? No. So I'm going to write my set on this side. I'm just going to try to push everything up a little bit. Doesn't move quite nicely. Okay, it's fine. Now, I'm going to write this one here. I'm going to say S is equal to. So all the numbers that do qualify, I'm going to put them in, I'm going to put them down here. Okay? At the moment, don't worry about what the letter S stands for. All right. So 1 is 1 greater than 4, or is 1 equal to 4? It's neither. So 1 doesn't qualify. And then we're going to go and put 2. Is 2 greater or equal to 4? No. Then we're going to put 3. Is 3 greater or equal to 4? No. 3 is not greater than 4. 3 is not equal to 4. So, but is 4 greater or equal to 4? Yes, 4 is equal to 4. Remember that this one is 2 things. It means the number is either greater or it is equal to. In this case, 4 is equal to 4. So it does qualify. So that means we are going to come back here. We are going to come back here and say 4 is the first number. And then if I go and put 5 is greater. 5 is greater. So I'm going to add 5 there. If I put 6 is greater. All the numbers that are going to follow now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are actually greater than 4. They make the left-hand side greater or equal to the right-hand side. So that means we're going to come down here. We're going to come down here and say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All these numbers, they make this inequality true. If I put 4 here, 4 is equal to 4. So it's true. If I put 5 here, 5 is greater than 4. So this is true. All right? So what do we call this? We call this a solution set. Why is it called a solution set? Because it satisfies our story here and the inequality. But remember, in our story we said no student will get less than 4, meaning all students will get 4 and above. So amongst all these numbers, the ones that are valid are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means my students can get 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Right, so inequality, just like equations, With equations, we say the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. With inequalities, we say the left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side. The left-hand side might be greater than the left-hand side, the right-hand side, or vice versa. And these are the symbols that we use. So how do you represent this in a graph? That will be in our next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day.